What's up? Friday Live tutorial time.
Hell yeah.
It's really happening. Evan Clark is in the building.
What up?
What up?
Where do you want me to start? What we got some question and answer? We got anything, any formalities to get through?
Well, you want to show your screen so
Yep, I got my
people. Well, let's talk about vMix a little bit. Why would you want to use this compared to OBS for starters?
So let's go through the list. But seriously, like OBS is a great program. I'm a huge fan of the open source community, huge fan of free software. And it's a decent program written by a lot of really committed developers. So just want to start off on the bat and saying that. But vMix is a little bit different. vMix is software you have to buy. What makes it different is mainly how it's written. So first of all, it's Windows only, so it's not cross-platform, which for some people that can be a little bit of a problem, especially if their DJ computers are Macs only.
That's probably going to take a lot of DJs out of the game right off the bat.
Yeah, but the benefit you get, remember you can boot camp your Mac, so it does run nicely on boot camp. There's a bunch of advantages that vMix has. The main thing I found is it performs way better than OBS. It's a lot more efficient, which means you can run at higher frame rates and higher resolution with a larger number of layers without, your computer overheating or the graphics card begging for mercy. Just like at idle, I think OBS sits at about 20 to 25% CPU usage. If you actually look here down in the corner, you can see my mouse, correct?
I can see it.
Don't know if you can see
next to recording.
Yep. So it gives you like this little readout here of how things are performing. And as you can see at idle, just capturing my screen, it's only sitting about 5%. So it's really efficient in how it operates, which means you can do, crazier things really easily. That's sort of the starting point with the vMix. There's a bunch of other advantages, but like I'd like to hear from you. Like, what are some of the things you'd want me to highlight, or what from the DJ world, what would you want me to highlight?
Okay, well, I have a version of vMix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna open it up.
Okay.
And I think this is vMix HD.
Yep.
And what are you using?
So I am using vMix 4K.
So vMix has a lot of different options. Now, the thing from looking at mine that I notice out of the gate is it doesn't seem like I can have multiple scenes.
So you can, but the way things are set up in vMix is a little bit different than how OBS does it. So OBS does things in a scene-by-scene basis, and you switch between your scenes. So your scenes are essentially your layer. vMix, on the other hand, has a concept of inputs. So an input can be really anything you can imagine in vMix. So an input can be a camera, an input can be a title, or an input can be a scene, like in OBS. So if we go here to add input, you can see all the different types of inputs that vMix supports. And a lot of these you'll probably never use unless you're doing some really specific stuff, but we can kind of walk through them. So with the closest thing to a scene in OBS is the virtual set or a virtual input. And the way a virtual input works is it lets you aggregate a bunch of feeds together to create a scene. So if I go ahead and click blank here, it's going to give me an input that is just an empty canvas. So if I wanted to say add some overlays or something, what I can do is I can go down to add input, I can bring in, say, I have a camera hooked up here. I have a intensity extreme hooked up running at 5994i. I can go ahead and pull in a camera feed. So as you can see, I've got my green screen video here. And let's say I wanted to mix that with something else. Well, in this virtual input, what you can do is you can click on the cogwheel, go to multi-view, and you can add up to 10 sources in one scene altogether. So I can say, click, I want my intensity extreme 1. And then maybe I only want it in the corner, so I'm going to scale it down. And then I'm just going to move it over to the left and then put it up. And so now I've essentially created the start of a scene. If I want to add something else, it's as simple as going back to this multi-view window and then selecting something else. So in this case, I'm going to just add, here, I'm going to just add some color bars. Really simple. I'm going to go back. I'm going to add color bars. I'm going to click position again, zoom them out, and then move this over here. So now I've essentially created what is a scene in OBS in vMix. And I can use this and I can fade it over. So that's sort of the equivalent of doing a scene in OBS to vMix.
So going left to right
Mhm.
is your layers, basically, right?
You mean down here?
Well, now I can't see it on the screen.
Oh, so let me show you here. So going in multi-view, going top to bottom are your layers. So you have 10 layers that can overlay each other. So 10 is the one that's on top, and then 1 will be the one all the way on the bottom.
Still can't see it.
You still, oh, sorry. I switched over to I faded over to the input and not the window. Okay. So these are your layers. So you have 10 layers you can play with in vMix. And so it goes from 10 will be the one that shows all the way on the top, and then each one will be below it. The nice thing is it also gives you like these preset layouts. It's like if you wanted to do like, dual inputs like that, you can just click a button and it'll do it. So you don't have to worry too much about layout if you don't want to. This one's nice for Instagram, for anyone who uses Instagram. So that's the sort of layer concept for vMix.
So over on the kind of lower left there, above your layers are your inputs. You
Yep.
have these different colors.
Yep.
Now, would that be different scenes?
So these are input groups.
Okay.
So let's say like what I do in production is I add all my physical inputs on this gray one, which is just the normal one you see when you open up vMix. But like let's say I never actually use this camera in anything except for a virtual input. And let's say I never like cut to this color bars either. What I can do is say, okay, the scenes I want to use, I can go up to general and I can categorize them based on color. So I can assign this scene to the red category. And when I go over to red, only that scene will show up. So you can group these, like if you, let's say you were doing like a big conference and there were different setups that you had, or let's say that you had like 3 DJs, one, streaming into you one night, and then it was just yourself on another night. You could have like one tab devoted to different like setups. So like you could have all your scenes for Monday night here, your scenes for Tuesday night here, Wednesday night, etc. So you can group things however you like to.
So a group plays within itself.
Yes.
Okay, so the thing that throws me is you've got your big fader,
Yep.
and I feel like on my version, I'm not able to fade between different ones. Like you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4
Right.
there. What is that?
So the
What is
one,
that showing?
all right. So the fader is just like the crossfader for switching between what's in your preview and what's in your main. If you have the same thing in both, it won't do anything. Um, the 1, 2, and 3, 4 are your overlay channels. So these actually aren't buttons. So an overlay channel is, I will show you what that looks like right now. I'll do a little chroma key just
You're gonna
to,
have to back out because I can't see the screen again.
oh shoot, my bad. There we go. No, I keep forgetting to hit that, but so let's say, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 here are your overlay notifiers. They tell you what overlay channels are active. And what an overlay channel is something that'll just go on above your master output, no matter where you are. So like it'll always show up just in master. It's not something you can cut in. It's something that'll sit on top. So like if you wanted your logo to be on top of everything all the time, then you would put it in an overlay channel. So for example, how that works is, let's say I go over to this green screen setup. I select my color chroma key preset, and now I have this keyed version of it. I can click 1, and now you'll see the scene is now overlaid on top of the vMix desktop. And no matter what I change under here, it'll stay on top. And if you can see here, if I take it off, this button is green anytime I activate it. And it has memory as to what the last overlay you used is. So you can like toggle it back on.
Okay, well, let's say that one of your inputs is your sound source.
Mm-hmm.
How do you switch different scenes while keeping that sound source activated?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in my sound source first. So I'm gonna add in my audio input. So now over here, we have a mixer portion. So similar to the mixer in OBS, you can control each channel. So if you wanted your source to stay on, all you do is you make sure this button is not green. So this button says, this button says only turn me on if the scene I'm associated with is enabled or showing. So first thing you do is you turn that off. And second thing you do is you turn it on. So in this case, when it's gray, it means the audio is not on. When it's green, it's activated. So now this audio will stay live no matter what you switch inside of vMix. Same thing for this one. Right now you see it's blue, which indicates it's not live. If I hit this, it turns green, and now I've got a source available all the time. And no matter what I do, let's say I keep this one on, for example, because we have some meters bouncing. No matter what I change, as you can see, the green stays lit.
So your audio mixer is completely separate from your input sources
Yep,
from
you
video.
you can link them by clicking this button, which will link your video and audio, which is good for like if you want your audio to turn off when video is not showing. But otherwise, you can make them completely separate. And this whole thing pops out and is an entirely separate audio mixer.
Okay, I think where I was getting thrown is I'm sending NDI with audio. So is it possible for me to put that in the audio only side?
So absolutely, you will need to send, so let's say we have an NDI input here. All right, give it a second to load it up. I actually was trying to get Mix Emergency to run earlier, but it doesn't seem to be hooked up. Let's say I have this NDI virtual input here. It's technically carrying audio. What you can do is one of two things. If you don't want the video, you can check this audio only box and it'll only pull in the audio. If you do want the video, you can just hit OK. And now we have this new input here. And sorry for the feedback, visual feedback. But what you can do now is it now appears in this mixer side. So this one has the same name as this input. And if I only want the audio from this one, then all I have to do is turn on the audio, turn off the toggle, and now that audio is live all the time. And no matter what I switch to, no matter what I select, this one is always going to stay green, and it'll always stay live.
Evan, what screen resolution are you running at?
Inside of vMix, or
No, like your desktop right here.
should be 720p. Is it blurry?
Yeah, it's really blurry.
I think that's Zoom doing some compression. Let me see if I can move it over. Let's see if I can just do this. Give me 1 second.
That G7 looks pretty clear.
Yeah, I think it's,
That menu is hard to see.
huh, that is strange. Let's switch over to desktop 1 and see if that works any better. Oops. 1 second here. It's weird, it's still capturing itself. Hold on. Let me go ahead and add the desktop one in here.
So one of the questions was, does vMix run heavy? And you already talked about that, right?
Yes.
You want to say that again?
Yeah, so vMix runs a lot lighter than OBS. At idle, it runs at like 5% CPU, whereas vMix runs at 20. So it runs, there we go, now we can see okay, now you can see, is that any clearer?
Nope, that looks about the same.
So I think it's just Zoom doing some compression on the video input. Let me see if I can do anything else here.
Damn you, Zoom.
Let's see if I can load up
Is
Zoom.
vMix used in conjunction with OBS or this another streaming app? This is another streaming app. This is alternative to OBS. But while OBS is free, this is something that you actually pay for.
Yes.
But there's a lot of goodness surrounding that.
Right. So you are really paying for what you get with vMix. And that's just, one, some really fantastic developers in Australia that really care about people using their product, and two, they're always on the cutting edge of something. So like the best thing I can describe is like NDI came out and then a week later they had it integrated into their software. And like fully integrated. So
yeah, they were the earliest ones to use it, I feel like, right?
I actually think Mix Emergency was the earliest one to use it.
Ooh.
I think they came out. I think I messaged Nick about it the day it came out. So I think they're second, if not first. But they are always on the new stuff. So every release, they always come out with some new feature, and it's always reliable is the other thing. I've never had a vMix version that I would consider unreliable. It may have a bug or two here or there, but it's never something you're going to see in the 1,000 times you would use it.
Yeah, the experience I've had with vMix, and I think it was what I used for early days Facebook streaming, where they didn't have a key. You had to do some kind of weird hack to go to some site to get a key.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 2 weeks before the copyright thing started hitting really hard. So it was like a really fun 2 weeks.
Right.
And then it all went to hell. But yeah, I was using vMix to connect to Facebook, and it was no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, they always try and figure out a way for something. They're always active in the forums. They're actually either developers actually always in the forums. You ever see someone said admin on there? It's actually one of the two developers, and they're always like answering your questions. And if there's something you want, they will probably feel like, and it's gotten a lot of response. They will add it or figure out a way to do it. Um,
One of the things that's really nice about vMix is like if you're streaming to Twitch, you can have multiple accounts set
yes.
up. You want to show that?
Yep. So in vMix, you can stream to 3 different places all at once. So you don't
Oh.
need to use something like StreamYard or Restream or Switchboard. You can set up independent outputs.
So
Like,
as far as when you're doing independent outputs like that, is it jumping your CPU up, or is it
so
just a matter of how much bandwidth you can push through at the same time?
so it depends. It depends on how you're doing things. One, vMix will take advantage of your GPU if it's good enough. So there are options in here, like if you go to use hardware encoder, it'll use your GPU to encode the video, which brings some performance. It takes a little bit of load off your CPU, but it does a few things that are kind of clever. Like here in quality, they have their own presets for all the different places you can go to, but you can actually create your own by clicking on the cog wheel.
I can't see it.
Oh shoot, hold on. Let me change this
Are
here.
you on some multi-screen action?
No, it's the way it's presenting the desktop. Give me 1 second.
Maybe you could just present everything rather than one screen.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do before and it freaked out on me. So it'll show me a black screen. Hold on 1 second. Add input. Uh, this is the other one, so it's the third one.
DJ Dinosaur.
Okay, third one. Nope. Wow, it is not letting me. For some reason, it won't let me show my. I think it doesn't let you like use the display vMix is like currently active on. So I'm gonna have to go back to display 2 and just show it back over here. Um, there we go. Okay. So sorry for the resolution issues. If it's still blurry, I'm gonna see if I can find a way to fix that while I'm working on this. But so you click this stream setting here, and it gives you the 3 output destination, and each one can be different. vMix does something clever for CPU usage. If you're using the same quality setting for all of these, it'll only encode it once and then send it to each one of these. So it no longer becomes something that's hogging your CPU. It is just how good your network bandwidth is. So if your internet can actually handle you sending 3 streams everywhere. And a stream can be about like 4 megabits per second. So multiply that by 3. If you have 12 megabit per second upload speed or more than that, you should be fine to send to 3 different places. But like GeForce said, you can select all the different places you want to stream to. So like I could go to Twitch and log in with my account. I could then go to Facebook, log in my account, and then I can go to Vimeo and log in. And then when I hit stream, it'll start streaming to all of these.
Question here is you guys running vMix on Windows machine or boot camp on a Mac? It's possible to do it either way, but I think we're both running Windows for
Yeah,
streaming.
we are both running Windows streaming, so but you can run it on a Mac. I've had good experience with it running at 720p 30 frames a second on a MacBook with Boot Camp, and I've also had decent experience with running at 1080p 30 frames a second on a MacBook with Boot Camp. So it's possible. you may just not, you won't be able to get as good of a performance as you would on a PC that had better hardware. So it all depends on just what hardware your machine has. But vMix runs on machines on anything very well. If you're just doing some generic video switching and nothing too complicated, it's going to most likely run on your PC without too much of a problem, or your MacBook, as long as you have a dedicated graphics card.
Does it use the whatever the new NVIDIA encoding is that's not like on the main GPU, but it's like on a special section of the card that's just for encoding video?
So yes, so by default, you can either do, if you go to settings, you can either select which graphics adapter you want to use for it to do its rendering. And you can also enable the option to render on which part of the card. So for example, if I go to stream settings, if I'm using hardware encoder, it's going to default to whatever the card wants. So like if the card has, a dedicated encoder on it, then it'll use that and not necessarily use the GPU itself.
Evan, I was thinking about sharing my screen and seeing if it would play back any better.
Okay.
And then you could walk me through setting it up.
All right, let's do that.
And give me a second to find something to stick in there. Any questions? Questions?
Weird, I can never see when these go live in the Video DJs Worldwide group.
So you can't see the chat.
I can't, unfortunately, I can't see the chat. All I can see is posts.
What's going on in the chat? I'm sure running eGPU will work just as fine. Yes?
eGPU, yes, an eGPU will be fine. So as long as you have something that is moderately decent, honestly, the answer is if you can game on it, you can run vMix on it. So eGPU works. You actually, if you want to, there is like an actual official Blackmagic design Apple sanctioned eGPU. If you want to get that, then that'll more than likely do it.
I'm an early adopter of eGPUs on the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like if you wanted to use it for production, I would say don't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, as in like a live event.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't trust mine, but I'm using an NVIDIA card that's totally not supported by Apple. So
Dealer's choice. It'll probably work if you buy the one that's made for Apple by Blackmagic Design. That one I probably trust, but it's also not the cheapest thing in the world. All right, so
I'm trying to share my screen. Let's see if you could. Well,
I
you're not going to be able to see it.
No, I see your screen.
It definitely looks clearer. Oh, you can see it in the Zoom. Okay.
I can see it in the Zoom. Man, why did mine look bad?
I took mine down to 1080p, so it looks a little bit better. It's still a little bit milky. All right, so I've got NDI coming in. So what do I want to do first? I want to add input.
So add input.
And I'm going to go to what? Video.
Click on more.
More. And then NDI
Yep.
and desktop capture.
Yep. Give it a second. The only criticism I have about vMix is and this is not really criticism on vMix, it's more NDI, but NDI can take a while to show up. All right, so now we
I'm
got,
still running my chat from my Mac Mini for the my setup. Look at that.
oh, cool.
So
All
I
right.
can use that as a second input.
Oh, yeah. All right, so you
All
got your
right. I
emergency
got my
out.
mix emergency
You,
and I just click OK.
you just click OK. All right.
So here it is in number 1. And
So,
so I'm not sending over audio because this is just for mix emergency. So I can turn that off, right?
yep, you can turn audio off. So now it's off.
So would it be coming in if I did that?
It would be coming in if it was live. So like right now, you would be hearing the audio if you left it on.
Okay.
So you can leave it on or off for this case because there's no audio coming over.
So let's add another import.
Yep.
Let's go NDI. This is my OBS. I'm gonna bring that in. Okay. So over on the right, this is what actually is going out.
Yep.
And so if I want to use one of these effects, if I have this one selected, I
Mhm.
can cross zoom, right?
Yep. And
So in order to do the next one, you would select a different one, correct?
yep. So like it always switches what you have in preview and primary whenever you do a switch. So you can always switch it to another one. In this case, it won't do anything except for maybe a weird effect if you have both in the same thing. But
Okay.
you can also change the transitions by clicking the little arrow next to them.
So you have these different ones that you can jump to, and
Yep.
then
And then you can change
these
which one.
different styles.
Yep. So
What's a good one that you like?
uh, Cube Zoom is one of my favorites. I think the other one is if you open up the menu, it's I honestly stick to Cube Zoom, Merge, and Fly
Let's try
most of the time.
merge.
Merge is going to act like a fade in this case. Merge is an interesting transition. So a good way to show what merge does is if we create a virtual input.
Okay.
So let's go to add input. Let's go down to the bottom that says virtual set. Let's click on blank. Okay, now let's click on the little cog wheel on the blank input. Let's click on multi-view on the sidebar.
Multi-view.
Let's go ahead and go up to the first one and select your mix emergency input. Let's go to the second one and select your Mac Mini. And let's go over to the side and click one of the presets. Any one will work. Okay, let's close it. Let's close it out. So now we have a virtual input. So can you put that virtual input in preview? Perfect. If you hit merge, now you'll see what merge does.
Oh, look at that.
So merge, the way vMix works, it's unlike OBS, which like essentially each one of your scenes is its own video. vMix treats videos as layers and sort of things that can move inside of its space. So what merge does is it figures out what is on screen and what is not, and then what can I reposition and what can I fade to show everything.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
So that's the basics of a virtual input in vMix.
So the way that I have this set up right now, are these 1, 2, 3, 4s doing anything for me?
They're not doing anything right now.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do an experiment with those and pull in something else.
All right.
So one thing that people like is Twitch overlays. So everyone likes to do Twitch overlays and have all the graphics show up there. And in vMix, you can do that like in OBS using something called a browser input. So for anyone who's familiar with stream elements, you can use stream elements and put them inside of vMix. And that is what an overlay channel will be for. So I'm going to log in real quick into my stream elements account. I'm going to create an element link and I'm going to send it to you. So what we're going to do now is if you can go to the add input button and add a browser input. It should be the second last one on the bottom. I'm going to send you a URL right now. I just need 1 second to create something that looks moderately okay. You're running at 720p, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add.
Spaze says, how much does vMix cost? Spaze, the one that I'm using is $99, I believe. I think there's a cheaper one, but
Yep.
this may be the first one that does HD. I think there's an HD one that does 720, and then there's one that does 1080.
So
And
you're close. So there are 5 versions of vMix that go from basic HD, which is, to basic standard definition, which is, I believe, 99, all the way up to 4K, which is, I believe, 1,000, or like 799 for a license. And basically, the difference between vMix Basic HD and vMix HD is vMix Basic HD only lets you have 4 inputs. So like right now, we would be almost maxed out on inputs on Basic HD, whereas HD lets you have 1,000 inputs and do HD.
and how much is the 1,000 input version?
I
So like 300?
I actually believe it's less than that. Let me give you the pricing right now.
So right now I see that my GPU memory is 5%.
Mhm.
My CPU is 4%, 5%, and then it says total 36.
Yep.
What is that total coming from?
So that's a sum of your GPU and your CPU. So it aggregates those together to create a combined percentage of how much resource your computer is, how much resources vMix is using on your machine.
And right now I have After Effects open and Photoshop, so I'm probably pulling a lot of stuff as is.
Right. So it can be, depending on what you're doing, it can use more resources, but in general, it's pretty happy right now. I'm just making sure that I have something to show. Here we go. Okay, I think this is good enough. Sorry, I'm just trying to create a stream elements overlay pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna message you a URL right now.
Jose, I am running a Windows PC. Yep. Can you share the specs? Well, the main specs would be it's i7. It is not new by any means, but my graphics card is a RTX 2080 Ti. So that's 11 gigs of video memory.
Okay, I've sent you the link, so now you should be able to paste it in.
Okay. Just hit OK.
Yeah, just hit OK. Okay.
So I'm going to want this to overlay, correct?
Yep. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit number 1 underneath it. That'll
All
put
right.
it.
Well, look at that.
So now we've got stream elements showing up.
So what is this that you're showing me? This is running off of a web page?
Yep. So this is these are the it's running off of a web browser. So vMix lets you load in a web browser input inside of it, which is how OBS does like all the elements for Streamlabs, etc. So these are like if you want your Twitch animations and your tickers and everything you can do, this is how you would load them in vMix.
So is this related to this 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yep, so right now you are in overlay channel 1 and it's active. If you click number 1, it'll deactivate it.
Okay.
Number
So I hit 1, it comes right back up.
Yep. So it saves the last overlay channel you've used in those buttons. So those buttons are both an indicator up there and a quick action button to activate the last thing you used.
So these overlays, do they count towards your maximum number of inputs, or are they separate?
Anything you pull in will be counted to your max number of inputs. So like right now we have 4 things, even though one is an overlay. That way, if you had basic HD, you're done. You can't add anything more.
So let's say I'm going to go and try to select this and bring it in. There you go. Limit reached.
Yep.
All right.
So you are limited on inputs with that.
How? But if I go to this other kind of setup, can I add more here?
You cannot. It's
No.
input total. So if you click on it, it's going to give you the same error.
Yep, you're right. I feel like that's really limited.
It is, and it definitely depends on what you pay for it. Like basic HD is $60, and it gives you HD with 4 inputs. You know, that may not work for some people. It'll work. You know, for people who are wanting to just do overlays and multiple scenes. Unfortunately, it will work if you have really one scene set up. The version to get is vMix HD, the full version, and that gives you the full 1,000 inputs, so you can have really as many as you want. Unfortunately, basic HD is limited, and this is where sort of OBS has the upper hand, is you can do as many scenes as you want and not have to pay for anything. But you don't get some of the advantages that vMix gives you. And there's a lot of things that we haven't even touched on that you may or may not use, but for certain use cases, they make a lot of sense. Main reason that we use vMix is because it makes it very easy for us to pull in a lot of sources from a lot of different places and mix them all together very cleanly, and not have to worry about any reliability or performance issues. And then also lately, it lets us do the virtual sets and mix the virtual sets in a way that looks good.
So you want to talk about virtual sets a little bit? I could set one of those up, I guess. I could get rid of one of these, right?
Yeah.
I just delete it?
You just hit close and it will disappear.
Close?
Yep, there's a close button on each input.
Where am I not?
Right.
Oh, close. This playback on Facebook looks super stuttery.
Yeah, it's in Zoom. It's stuttery too.
Yeah.
I think it's the amount of video frame, like just how the video is playing on the screen. But
if I change my output, you think that would help?
No, because you're doing the desktop capture, right? In Zoom?
But I'm just doing the screen share, yeah.
Yeah, it's how Zoom does it. It doesn't like videos with a lot of movement in the screen share. So
Sorry, guys. This may look better on the recording, I'm guessing.
yeah, it's a little better now. So let's go to the virtual set. So let's go to add input, and vMix comes preloaded with virtual sets, but you can also create your own. So if we go to the virtual set section, we can select from a number of virtual sets they include for you. These are all from like, 3D sets and desk sets to, ones of just layout. So we're gonna go ahead and add one here. And if we click on the virtual set input 3 to bring it into the preview window, what we can do is go to setup on this right next to it, and we can add different inputs. So let's go ahead and put the video of let's go ahead and put the chat in the skyline view on the first layer. Oh, it actually doesn't let you, only let you choose a picture. Go back to a layer, the top one. Oh yeah, skyline. Yep, skyline, that's correct. So now we've got the chat in the background. If we change the layer to say screen 1, we can set the input to the mix emergency feed, and we can repeat that for screens 2 and 3.
I'm messing up. 3, screen 1. 9, screen 3.
That's strange.
All right, there you go.
All right, so the other thing it lets you do is it lets you, so once we've set everything up, now we can go back over to the camera tab, and we can click on any of the image previews underneath to zoom the camera in.
Yeah, this is pretty slick.
So now obviously these are not the most attractive looking virtual sets, but vMix lets you create your own. You can either do it how we did before with the multi-view, and it'll act the same way, or you can do the more complicated setup, which they let you essentially write a config file that you tell it where all your layers are located and what screens receive what inputs.
Is there
And
I tried messing with this. Is there a way for me to just switch it, or do I need to close it and make a new one
what do you mean switch it?
to a different layout?
So right click on it. Not up there. Sorry. Double click on it. Yep. Right click in the middle of the preview. Actually, we're gonna go. Never mind. We're gonna unclick that. Go to the cogwheel down the bottom, and then go up to go to general, and then go to change up in the top left corner. Sorry, top right corner.
Let's see if this works.
I think that's the same one.
No, it's not.
Oh, there we go.
This is a big mess that I made here. But you can see, what you would need is you would create a layout with these. What do you call these?
UV maps.
Yeah, but I feel like this has a certain name to it.
It's a UV map. That's what they call it in vMix.
Yeah, but if you look up UV map and you try to find one of these, you're not going to find one.
Yeah, it's like technically it's called a vertex shader.
All right, I'll go with that.
Um,
Let's see if I have a different one that works a little better. I don't know. That may be I feel like I got a little closer than that. And I had one going, but it was just kind of okay, you know. Do you want to talk about how you would set this up
yeah,
as far as custom?
to build a virtual set.
Do you have a sample to show?
So I don't have a sample on this machine. Um, to set something up like GeForce setup, you have to, that's actually a config file you have to write and set it up. But to create your own, that's the one thing I didn't have prepared is like an actual virtual set layout. But to create your own, it's pretty simple with the multi-view setting. You essentially just add layers in multi-view and then just align your video where you want it to show up in the set. Uh, so maybe we can just download see if I can download like something off the internet.
Spaze is excited that vMix comes preloaded with VR sets. Yeah, it comes with a few, but they're by no means great.
If you want to do a weather broadcast from your basement, they're perfect.
It's easy to create one of these. I feel like the part where you might get hung up is that you have to go in and I don't know if you would really call this coding, but you have to kind of script it out, right?
Yeah, you have to write an XML config,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you tell it, like, okay, here's where video is going to go. Here's where the camera is going to be. Um, so it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's also not impossible. Um, oh, look at
I'm making a really big mess.
that. So
Evan, where do you build your VR set?
I
Unreal
use
Engine or Unity? Spaze says.
open frameworks.
Spaze says, can you buy sets online? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
vMix will point you to some site where they will sell different setups, but man, are they expensive.
Yeah, you're better off doing
I
it
would
in Photoshop.
totally build it myself and go
Mm-hmm.
through all the pain rather than buy their stuff that doesn't even look like it's in the correct aspect ratio most of the time.
I feel that. Yeah, you're better off spending time. If you want it to look somewhat 3D, then spending your time to do it in Photoshop or Cinema 4D or After Effects.
I didn't find any tutorials about how to do that. I just opened up the XML and kind of hacked away at it until I got something close.
So
And
the
I
way
did get something closer than what you're seeing on the screen, just so you guys know. Just so
so
you know.
the way Crush and I did it, we never used the UV maps, and except for near the end of what we were doing, we always just used multi-view. And all we did was we essentially created a bunch of layers in Photoshop and then place the video screens behind the layers. Uh, so if you can spend some time in Photoshop, you can create your own virtual set based off of stuff you can find online. Similar to how you've been doing it, similar to how people have been doing it for OBS, except when you load it into vMix, it'll give you the zoom and the auto moving camera.
Right. So you could have like a much wider set and kind of move around. And the other thing that you're not getting in OBS is things at a slant
Mm-hmm.
or what would you call that? A corner pin
Right.
so that you actually get this area where it's turned to the side. I've seen some guys, they'll take this and like, blink it out and they'll put their screen in and it almost looks like it's really on a slant because you can't tell, but then you'll see something where the lines, like horizontal lines, are totally not correct.
Right. So with multi-view, you can do that. It actually, I believe it has a rotate function. Let me double check. Don't quote me on that. Let me actually double check for real. Um, yeah,
Crush is in the chat.
yep, it has a rotate, so you can like rotate your video screen so it's panned. I wish I could see the chat. I can never see the screen for some reason.
Crush, you want to join in on this Zoom call? I'll send you a link. You can tell all the kids about vMix. Spaze is loving the zoom and the moving camera.
It's good software. It's really good software. Uh, yeah, I
I'm
wish.
getting impatient as I click on this because it takes a minute for it to kick in sometimes.
Oh, for the video to switch.
There it goes. Zoom.
Well, you can adjust that. So you see that F, M, S, and C.
Yeah,
If you click on F,
that's fast.
that's fast. And now try it.
And so, yeah. And that changes it for everything, correct? Yeah.
Yep. And that little box next to it with the numbers lets you set how fast actually is.
And these files are, really large. Um, these backgrounds, the set design. I
Yeah.
forget how big it was, but I opened it up. I was like, man, this seems a lot larger than you would need it.
Right. And it's mainly because of the virtual zoom. Like you,
Yeah, it's for the zoom. So when it comes in close, everything still looks really crispy.
right. So you need to like, you'll need to make like 4K images in order to use it well in the virtual set. But vMix seems happy with it. And it works pretty darn well. Um, I guess we can go over some of the other things like you can do. I mean, there is like you can obviously record your set. Um, you can, if you wanted to, you could actually add a playlist in vMix and have it run through videos and inputs timed. It's like if you wanted to just say leave it running and have different videos play out, you can have it do that. I'm trying to think of what else is a good. I'm trying to think of what else is a good like topic to cover. You have any VSTs installed on your machine?
I think I have one,
You want to try loading a VST?
maybe two.
Want to try loading a VST in vMix?
Sure.
All right. So click on the tab that says Audio Mixer all the way on the right.
On the right, over here, over there.
All right. Go ahead and click on the cogwheel on the master. Now go to the sidebar where it says plugins and click the plus button. Now, if you click driver, you should be able to select. It looks like you don't have a VST,
Nope.
so you can't do that. But it does support VSTs.
And it does have a lot of good processing just built in.
Yes,
EQ, compressor.
And noise gate as well.
Yeah, which is nice.
You can also, here's another interesting thing, is that there's audio and video delay. And it's true video delay, which I'll explain what that means in a second. So with the audio delay, sometimes the video is a little bit slower, so you need to delay your audio for a second or two in order for it to be in sync. And that can happen sometimes with NDI. So you can delay your audio. It also has video input delay, which means it'll record a few frames or however many frames you tell it, and then play them back in real time in sync with your audio.
So I remember finding that before. Is that under advanced? Yep. Delay.
Go ahead.
What is this?
I think those are filters. So I think you can have, one of the things that you can do supposedly is you can add filters like to the video. So effects.
There you go.
There we go. So you can only do this on the main inputs that come in. So you have to hit go ahead and add like 20 frames of delay and then hit apply. And so now it'll pause for a second. Now it's delayed by 20 frames.
I like that by frames.
Yep. So it's really useful. It's really useful for some of the things.
So Curtis says, can vMix do 3D environments?
It can.
Not exactly, no. Is there one that there's not a more advanced one that does a 3D a true 3D turn, right?
No, there's not included. And I think they may be working on that in the next version. I need to look at the forums to see if that's how requested that is, but for the moment, it's just 2D.
On your personal setup, what kind of delay are you looking at?
Um, if I'm just doing video and audio, I only need to delay the audio by about 20 milliseconds, and everything stays in sync.
And
For
you're doing that from the mix emergency side, not on the
doing
vMix
it
side.
I'm doing it on the vMix side.
Okay.
So all
On
the
the vMix side,
yep, all the delay I do is on the vMix side.
so you're going to your audio setting,
Yep.
and then
It won't show up on the master, so you have to go to one of the other audio.
oh, okay.
So you can't delay the master. Okay, there it is. So there's a delay slider, and you can type in the number of milliseconds.
Okay. That's
So
cool.
I just have a loop of Usher clapping in front of a screen that I use to sync everything up.
Spaze is asking about Division's live stream. Spaze, that has nothing to do with vMix. Sorry.
No.
Unless they're using vMix to output their video, but yeah.
I don't think so. It could be.
Crush said 3D set. Take a look at VSEP 3D.
Yeah, that's another one. That's one we've looked at before.
I took a look at it, and it's very limited, I thought, for what it can do.
Right.
But it can do it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to give you a Visions live stream. Sorry, Spaze. That's not going to happen.
New Tech TriCaster may.
TriCaster?
TriCaster, TriCaster supports 3D sets now. But
From who?
from them, or you can import a 3D model file.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was like. They're one of their big features that they released like 4 years ago. It's like, oh, you can now do like full 3D sets.
So how much does it cost to get going with a TriCaster?
Uh, 10, maybe 15 grand starting. So go with vMix to start, and
And work your way up.
but
Once you become Stream King. Oh, Crush is saying, let me in. I don't know if I have the power to let him in.
let's try and let him in.
If E's around, he could easily do it.
Does he have a link?
I can send an invitation, but I don't think it'd go through. I don't think that would help.
What if I just copy the Zoom link you sent me?
Yeah, that's what I sent him.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think he has to be let in. You're right.
Let me message E and see if he can let him in. Stand by, DVDJ Crush.
Let's while we're doing for him, let's make an overlay that says standby. So you can do overlays and titles in vMix as well.
Okay.
So let's go
Add
to
input.
add input. We're going to go to title/example.
Title. Okay.
And then let's grab one of the GT titler inputs. So let's go and get, let's go ahead and grab that nice little title. Let's grab title 1 there, element blue.
This one, that one,
in the
this
middle.
one,
Dead center. Yep.
this one.
Yeah, that one. Let's hit OK.
Double click it.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and change the text. Let's say, welcome DJ Crush, or stand by. Let's go to the sidebar and select the description text. Let's change it to standby. Now let's go ahead and go to clocks. Let's click on clocks and let's add a clock. Let's do countdown to time. Okay, and let's change it to from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, and let's go back to headline text. Yep, there we go. Now let's go ahead and hit. We should be able to close out of there. And now hit number 1 underneath Welcome DJ Crush.
Oh, look at that fanciness. Crush, call E and tell him to let you in. See if that works. So if I click off of this, does it fade out? Yeah, look at that.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool.
So some of these titles come with built-in animations for you.
Curtis says 10 to 15 grand, hard nope. I feel you.
vMix is for what you get.
Let me see this. Oops. Stop all streams. I don't know where I'm streaming to. Let me stop.
Wait, you've been streaming this whole time?
No, I like hit the button to stream and it started up. Okay, so
If you wanted to stream, these are the places you would set up your stream destinations.
so are these sending these out multiple at the same time?
Yes, so you can send to 3 places at once.
But if I had a Twitch account, let's say I'm doing my own page and I have this one and I can add it, I can go up and do another one and say, okay, this is Twitch music video DJs, and I could switch between the different ones without having to go in here and copy paste each time, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's worth the money right there to me.
And you could stream to like 3 different Twitch places all at once.
Oh man. I don't think I have enough bandwidth for that, but you know, good to know. Can you MIDI map vMix on apps like Touch Portal?
You can, 100%. Let's show them how to do it.
All right. How would you do it? Settings? Or do I just right click on something?
You go to the bottom left corner. You click on the icon, sorry, bottom right corner. You click on the icon with 3 squares.
This hamburger menu?
Nope, the 3 squares.
3 squares?
Yep.
That's
sorry, 4 squares. 4 squares.
4 squares.
Okay. You go to edit.
All right.
And now you can create shortcuts. So these are where you define what you're going to use to control. So you can do your keyboard, you can do MIDI, you can do gestures, joysticks, Shuttle Pro controls, anything you kind of want. So let's go ahead and, you don't happen to have a MIDI controller connected to this computer, do you?
I do not, sorry.
So let's go ahead and create a keyboard shortcut to start. So let's
Okay. So I hit add.
Yep. Should have a window pop up. Let's assign the space bar to the cut button. So let's select, we scroll down in the key control, we should be able to find space.
Can I just hit space?
You can, if you hit the find button next to it, you can hit space.
It says R.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if we go to function, this one's a little tricky. So this doesn't like let you have to tell it sort of what you want it to do in vMix. So let's go to transition. And let's go ahead and set it to cut. Now let's go ahead and change the input should be in preview, and then let's change mix. Yeah, let's go set it to mix 1. I think vMix actually has multiple, interesting. I think vMix actually has multiple mix buses now that I look at it. Okay, so now let's give it a title. Let's call it cut bar. Okay, now hit OK. All right, and you would do the same thing for MIDI. You would just do find, and you would move the MIDI button or move the MIDI knob or button. So now let's hit OK. And now you should be able to use your space bar to cut.
There it is, cutting it away.
Okay. Now let's do
That
something.
looks good. I like it.
Let's do something else interesting here. You don't happen to do you happen to have a stinger available on that machine?
Yeah, I think
All right.
so.
So let's go ahead and configure the stinger. Let's go to the overlay button in the bottom right corner. Let's go change it from number 1 to stinger 1 under number. Let's go ahead and change the effect to cut. Should be the very last one. Yep. Let's go ahead and, oh, we actually have to add the input first. So hit cancel. Sorry. Let's go ahead and remove that title so we have one more input we can use.
Close.
Okay. So let's go to add input. Let's go to image sequence / stinger. If you do you have it in a like a PNG sequence? Or
No, I don't.
you have it in like a do you have it in a video with alpha channel?
Yeah, I got it as a HAP file.
That'll work, I think.
Okay.
So let's go up to video instead. Normally you want to do it, if you're using a stinger, you want to use their stinger input with the PNG sequence because it'll save it in RAM and it'll run fully fast. It'll run as fast as possible, which when you're doing a transition is really, really imperative.
I'm looking.
Okay. So make sure you check the checkbox that says video contains alpha channel.
Okay.
And now hit OK. All right, so now we have a stinger. So let's go back to that overlay section. Let's go ahead and change the effect to cut. Let's set stinger input to input 4. And let's go ahead and set the cut point to the point at which it covers the screen. You can either do it in milliseconds or frames.
Well, I know what the frames are, so I'll do that.
Okay, do you know how long it is as well in frames?
I do not.
Okay, so we can set the duration. Duration should be fine. Let's go ahead and click OK. Cannot be greater than the duration. Oh, you need to change the duration to like the length of the video clip, either in frames or milliseconds.
Well, let's say that it's 30 frames, because I don't really know.
You need to put in duration, not effect duration.
Oh.
Okay. Effect duration, since the cut can be whatever, but hit OK. All right, so now if you change the input or change the transition, you should be able to select stinger 1 and hit it. Oh, okay. It looks like stinger multiple overlays are not allowed in this In addition of vMix, upgrade vMix to enable more features. I didn't know stingers was not included in this version.
Foiled again, vMix.
Yeah, it looks like overlay channels. What's weird is that it doesn't, I guess it doesn't, yeah, you could do it with a macro and get around that, but that's probably a little too advanced for this.
So I need to get multiple. Well, let's try that again. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say visit website. Where does it put me? It doesn't specifically tell me what version I need to upgrade to. It just
Probably
lists different ones.
Probably the one with four overlay channels.
So we got vMix Basic HD, we got vMix SD, we got vMix HD, we got vMix 4K.
So vMix, it depends on what. I don't think you need you don't need anything over HD. We really don't need anything over HD. The only thing you get with 4K is that you can do 4K video, and it also has some isoporter features built in, and you get 4 callers with vMix Call, and you get like virtual outputs and stuff as well. So it just depends. I think they actually let you, if you go to your account in vMix, you can put in your license key, and they'll give you a discount off or an upgrade price as well.
I recently upgraded just because the version I was using was, from 2016. So, and they give you like a year of support for new version releases after you do that.
Yep.
So I figured I was probably due. Oh, you get a free 60-day trial.
Yes, you do.
That's an important thing to point out to people who
Yes.
might want to give this a try.
You do get a full 6. They've expanded it to full 60 days. It used to be 30, but now it's 60 because of the pandemic. So you can download vMix HD and play around for 60 days completely uninhibited.
We should have pointed that out at the beginning.
Yeah, that is my bad. I am sorry. You get full 60-day trial. You can do whatever your heart desires, and then
60-day trial. So I could use all the stuff, I'm guessing.
Yep, you can use everything. You could go full vMix Pro and get everything.
So, you guys, if you have a PC and want to stream, you should really go get this download.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if I can share this.
I still can't see the feed. This is in the Video DJs group, right?
Worldwide?
Yep.
Video DJs worldwide?
Yeah, it does not appear for me.
Yeah, right here. 60 days. I wonder if they'll let me do 60 days since I already have one. I have to sign up with another account.
I think if you nuke your serial address or your serial key on the machine, it'll let you do it if you use a different email. Oh, vMix also has vMix Social. I should have mentioned that too. There's so many things that I keep forgetting because this thing has so many options in it. So can we open up vMix Social? It should have installed on your desktop or in the vMix folder.
Hey, speaking of that,
Uh-huh.
I run Malwarebytes,
Uh-huh.
and it found vMix this morning to be malware. And one of the things was social.
Huh. That's strange. Where did you get your copy of vMix from, GeForce?
I got it from the site, man. What do you mean?
I think it's because it packages an old version of .NET framework inside of it, and I think that's why antivirus software use that as like not good, but it's fine.
What's odd that this has been sitting on my machine and it's on my work computer too. It just happened to pull it out of the blue. So I don't know if this is a new definition or what.
Maybe there's people like sending a patched version online that happens to be malware.
So would I want to launch that from an application standpoint, or can I do that inside the program?
So you want to do it from, so if you go down to the hamburger menu, you'll see a thing that says vMix Social. If you scroll up, yep, there we go.
So this is going to like, see, look at this. All right.
Did it block it from opening?
Yeah, I gave it access, so.
Okay. Did it open it, or where did it go?
You're not seeing it?
I don't see it. I just see
I think because it runs as a other app, it's not going to show it. So let me do a new share.
Last thing I'm going to show is the web controller.
How about now?
Nope, just see vMix.
All right, how about now?
Okay, there we go. Now we see it. All right, so this will let you bring in social media and chat from any of the platforms that are shown here. So you can get tweets, you can get Facebook messages, you can get Twitter chats, or sorry, Twitch chats, you can get YouTube comments, and then you can do IRC. And you can moderate it in real time too. So that,
Nice.
so if you were to turn on any one of these, you can have someone go through and like check what's coming in and have these show up on screen as you wanted them to.
So does that happen within this extra application, vMix Social?
Yep, and then in vMix, it creates an input called a social input, and it'll fill in the title with whatever, and the title will animate on whenever someone says, "Up, this message can show." So that's a nice feature if you want to do things and be able to like queue messages or questions that show up. So the last thing I think we'll show is the remote control.
Okay.
So let's go to the hamburger menu for time. And let's go to, actually it doesn't show it here. Go over to the four squares. Okay, click on the thing that says web controller. So vMix has a fully remote control you can access from anywhere in your house via an iPad, a MacBook. So you could essentially be on your DJ computer and controlling vMix through this, and you could have it running somewhere completely different.
Man, that is lovely. I like that a lot.
So let's go step through the different segments. So the first one is the one you're on, which is.
Hold on, I'm trying to get these so you can actually see.
Oh, we saw it. There we go. So first section is your shortcuts. So like the one we created with the cut bar will show up there. So now if we go over to the next one, so the button that has four squares with the green and yellow, we can see the output matrix. So now we can say, okay, what is going to go to where? And we can cut that way. And I think if you pull the window up, there should be like a transition setting buttons down below. Yep.
Am I doing this right?
Yep.
As far as switching?
Yep, you're doing it right. So like now hit zoom and it'll.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now when we're doing visual eye candy, the next tab we use somewhat often is if you go to the two dots, this is called the tally indicator. So it'll tell you when you're on air, given an input. So let's say we have the chat or mix emergency output. If you click it, what it'll do is it'll turn the whole screen a color. And now this will change color when the input becomes live. So right now this input is visible, therefore it's green. If you go into vMix and cut the input, cut the input,
It goes orange.
it goes orange.
So that means it's on standby.
That means it's on standby. And if you take it off of preview, it'll go blue. So it lets you see when you're live. And it's one of the, if you don't have like a preview monitor or you're switching remotely, it'll let you know like, oh yeah, I'm visible or I'm not visible. And you can get like a cheap iPod or something that has a web browser on it, and you can load this up. And you can like just stick it to the top of a camera or stick it to the, on your table.
Could you run it from your phone, I guess?
Yeah, so I had one. So like anytime I stream, I have an iPad with me that is either running the tally so I can see it, or it has the vMix matrix output via NDI, and I can preview that. Or I have it on my DJ computer open and I can see that.
That's pretty slick. I like that a lot.
I used to use a little app that stuck windows. So like you could sort of like how Mix Emergency can hover over everything. There was an app I used that would let me open a web browser window and it would just hover over everything, and I kept it in the top corner. So I always knew when I looked at my laptop when the camera was on and when it was not.
What else do you want to talk about?
I'm not sure what else. I mean, we can go, there's more and more things, but like, I feel like this is more than enough for an hour chat. Anyone have any questions?
Questions, guys? Crush gave up.
Rush gave up. So who's going to go?
He said he didn't show up to the waiting room.
Huh. So who's going to buy vMix? Put a 1 in the chat room, or at least download the trial.
Yeah, anybody gonna do a?
I think Crush gave up because I didn't know he was coming to the chat, and I was on a conference call for the last half hour, so I wasn't looking at the screen, and I had your volume down, and since I was on the phone, I couldn't see any text messages coming in. So.
Okay, we got 2 people who are gonna download the demo.
Okay.
Spazze says, best place to create your own virtual set? Open framework? Question mark?
Depends if you're going to use it in vMix, Cinema 4D, and Photoshop. If you're going to try and make something real time, open frameworks.
Well, I guess that about wraps it up for today. I'm going to give vMix a try for sure. I'm more interested in doing 3D environments though.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
People are so interested in 3D environments.
We need to go 40 next time.
Why stop at 40? Let's go 10D. Make it up.
I'm going to make 20D and sell it to RPX theaters.
You might make a buck or two there. Especially if you can figure out how to put the people back in the theaters.
What are you talking about, 10D?
No, nothing.
So E, is tonight that you're debuting this new show, or did that already happen?
That happened yesterday. I thought you were watching.
I don't think I was. What time was that?
2 o'clock Pacific. 4 o'clock your time.
I missed it.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It'll be every week at that time. I was trying to figure out if these guys were actually just Googling, like as soon as the track came on, if they were Googling like what the original sample was, or if they actually knew it. I think Marcel out of the Netherlands knows a lot about music because I don't think he was Googling because he got a couple wrong, unless he was just doing that on purpose to prove that he wasn't a superhuman computer. But it was fun. You know, whether they were Googling it or not, they was forcing them to learn something. So, you know, haha, joke's on you.
Evan Clark, anything you want to announce, talk about,
Uh,
upcoming things?
well, I got one thing. I will be selling the virtual set that we made for the last two or three shows I performed. And I will have details about that coming out very soon. So anyone who wants it can have it.
And will it be customized with
So
that
it'll
DJ's logo?
Yes, it will. So you will get a customized version of your logo in 3D placed into the set, included in the purchase, and you will be able to, if you want to, for a different fee, you can have it fully customized according to what you want.
And will that run on a Mac?
If you have a good enough Mac, yes, it will.
Okay, give me some basic specifications on a computer that you would need to run it on
So
PC and Mac side.
Yeah.
On a Mac, 128 gigs.
on a PC, you need at least on an older graphics card, you need at least a GTX 1080. With
So you're saying right out of the gate, you got to be on a desktop?
You can be on a laptop. I'm going to get there. This is desktop setup.
Okay.
You're going to want to be on anywhere from a 1070 to up. So on a desktop, actually, no, sorry. You can do a GTX 1060 on a laptop or a desktop with 16 gigabytes of RAM and at least an i5 processor. And maybe an i7 if you want to do higher resolution. That's the minimum spec for PC. On
So
Mac,
the resolution that it spits out, is it 720? Is it 1080? Are you adjustable on that? How does
it's
that
going
work?
to be adjustable. So you can choose 720 30 frames a second or 1080p 30 frames a second.
Okay. And you get two inputs?
You get two inputs. So you get a camera input and you get a screen input.
So are those both NDI or is this like a webcam type?
Those are both NDI.
Okay.
So you will need a program like OBS or vMix to do the chroma keying in order to insert yourself into the set. But you'll be using
So
that.
would you be able to chroma key yourself, send it out NDI, and then send it back into vMix to stream?
Yep, that's how we do it currently.
All right.
So
Another reason to get vMix.
Yep. I will warn you though, in OBS, I will warn you, you need to buy at least the vMix 4K version in order to do it in vMix. To have the number of outputs. I think you can actually do it in I think you can do it in HD as well, but I haven't tried it with the way we've been doing it. Because vMix by default sends all your outputs to NDI as well. So I haven't experimented with vMix HD, but it should work. OBS will work as well. You just have to add the NDI output filter on your chroma keyed camera. So that's how.
What's that price point looking like?
It's going to be $100 for the set with your logo put in.
And the chat room goes wild. What?
See, I can't even see, so you could be telling me. I don't know.
No, we've only got 8 people in here. One person says that's awesome.
So, for Mac, specs for Mac, you're going to need, the only one that's been officially tested on is the 16-inch Retina with the high-end AMD graphics card inside of it. Macs are a little bit trickier because they tend to overheat and they will throttle their speed when they overheat.
So if you were going to run this on a Mac, would
Mhm.
you recommend using 2 machines?
I would definitely recommend using 2 machines. Do you mean that by your DJ computer and a separate streaming machine, or like just having like I would never run this on the computer you're mixing video on with OBS, etc. I would recommend having at least one separate laptop. And the laptop specs I specified will run vMix and the virtual set well.
But you would not recommend running everything on one machine.
I would not.
Okay. So this is a 2 machine setup, guys.
Yeah.
Take that into consideration. And so customization wise, what would you get? Change the booth, change some colors, change the
So
background.
if you're going to have it, if you want to have it fully customized, what you'll be able to do is you get to have the colors changed. You'll get to have the background changed. Of course, you'll have your logo put in as well. We will change the color of the lighting inside, the automated lighting inside the room. And depending on how far you want to go, we could even add more than one NDI input into it. So you could have each screen have an independent NDI source if you wanted to.
And if you're running more than one NDI input, you're probably going to want to get one of these.
Yes.
I went and picked one up today. A switch that has, what is it? 16 gig switching capacity.
Yep.
Picked this joint up, TP-Link 8-port switch for 25 bucks.
TP-Link.
Office Depot.
Wait, where'd you get that?
Office Depot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they carried TP-Link stuff.
Oh yeah. You can even get TP-Link at Home Depot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the depots.
Huh.
I don't know if they have the switch, but they have TP-Link products.
You can also buy, if you want to go crazy, you can also buy used server gear on eBay, and that'll definitely work. But I would recommend going to Home Depot and picking up a TP-Link switch over that.
Any other things you want to promote, Evan? Any software projects?
Nothing else. So we've got, if you have a chance, there will be I'm actually not sure what I can talk about here, so I'm going to hold off on saying it. But
Okay.
say if you haven't checked out Stemverter, then you probably should. So something's coming down that pipeline there. So check back at it very soon, probably next week. And other than that, not much. So if you don't know what Stemverter is, it's a DJ Flow makes it. It's a app that lets you separate out your audio, your acapellas, your instrumentals, and gives you a decent sounding DIY acapella from any track you want.
So can we run Evan's virtual set with the SD version of vMix?
That I have not tried yet. It may, in theory, yes. It'll take the inputs and it'll send the outputs, but I have not tested that myself.
I feel like where you might run into a hiccup is the camera part of it. Well, because you need 2 different inputs.
Right.
So
The SD version has 1,000 inputs as well.
see, what I was thinking about was just running a 3rd machine to do the camera.
Just to do the camera?
Yeah, 3rd machine to do the camera. You got your DJ laptop to do the video mix, and then you got your third computer to run vMix.
And then you have one computer that just does your virtual set.
Oh yeah. Well, could you run your virtual set and your streaming? You could run that on the same computer, right?
You can run that on the same computer.
Okay.
We've been doing that. We've done both. We've done 3 computers and 2 computers, and they work just about the same.
You're using vMix 4K so that you can process a channel independently to send over to
Yes, but I
the
believe
virtual set.
yes, but I believe vMix. We can actually test it on yours. Do you have the NDI monitor on your machine installed by chance?
Probably.
Or do you have OBS? I'm assuming you have OBS installed. I see it down in the corner. That'll work too.
Okay.
So we can actually sort of test this hypothesis of whether basic HD will work right now. Can you add an NDI source, one of the vMix?
One of the from vMix?
Yep, from vMix. So let's actually go to vMix.
I need to go to vMix and set that up, right?
You got to go to, by default, it sends the outputs via NDI, but let's go to settings and just confirm that. Let's go to performance. Let's go to outputs. Let's go ahead and go to a show advanced settings. Oh, there it is actually. Where it says cameras calls audio inputs. Turn NDI on. Okay, hit OK. Now let's go over to OBS. You got to
restart. Okay.
All right, so now let's restart it. What you need to do one more thing. Go back to settings. Set in performance. You're going to need to change go down to show advanced settings. All the way to show advanced settings, all the way at the bottom.
Over here?
Nope, down, a little checkbox, right? Show advanced settings. You're going to need to change the video output format from YVU to ARGB32. And hit OK. It's going to ask you to restart again.
It didn't.
Huh. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to OBS. Let's go and add a new NDI input. Let's go to source. And what we should have is it's actually not showing it. That's strange. Try clicking it again. Let's go back to vMix and make sure NDI is on for all outputs. So go back to outputs, NDI, SRT, cameras, calls.
Do I need to do this up here?
Let's turn that on as well for output 1. Should be outputting everything already. Oh, okay. I know what it's doing. Since you don't have a camera in here, it's only doing cameras, calls, audio inputs. The more advanced ones do it, but it'll still work. So hit OK. And you need to add a camera in here of some sort. So go to add input. Camera, I think the camera should share between, if you have a camera you can use. We just need some sort of source. Oh, you gotta get rid of one input.
Man.
Okay, there we go. All right, so now let's go over to OBS again. Let's go to that NDI source. There we go. So now we see that XSplit VCam. So go ahead and click on that. Hit OK. And now we got the XSplit VCam. So now what it should be able to do is, let's go over to vMix and click on the cog icon for that XSplit VCam. Let's go over to color key. Oh, it's already doing it. So it's already sending an alpha channel. Cool. So go ahead and close that window. Let's go over to OBS. And now, can you try and put something underneath the video? So like add another layer.
I feel like this should be pulling in. Oh, it's because, yeah, that's not it. Okay.
So right click on the top source. I think it should be doing it. Got properties. Go to allow fix alpha blending, I think, and then also scroll down a little bit lower to YUV color space, YUV range. Oh, hold on. I think we actually change an option in OBS. Let's see here. Yes. Let's see here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see, because I think it's sending an alpha channel. I just don't know if OBS is able to handle it normally. So I'm just checking on. There's a guide. I'd have to look further into this. But normally you can do an alpha. If you can get an alpha channel out of the camera, then you can, it'll work correctly with the vMix HD. So fortunately this test doesn't work, but we can always, I'll look into it. Yeah, so it's not getting the alpha channel. So
I don't know if there really is an alpha channel through this.
Yeah, I mean there was. We went into the vMix. If we went back over to vMix and looked at the preview of the input, it was showing a checkered box, which meant there's an alpha channel being passed from XSplit. So if you go to the configure, that's
that we're talking about here.
Yeah, that looks like an alpha source, and you can see it's an ARGB32 source. So it is an alpha channel because if you hit overlay 1, it should just appear in vMix, if I'm correct. Or just 1 underneath it.
Oh.
Yep. There is an alpha channel, but it's not being spit out. So I don't know if that's a limitation of OBS or a limitation with this version of vMix.
Spazay says, just cut the black stuff out. Good call.
You can't, well, unfortunately in the virtual set you can't. You have to send it a video with a alpha channel. So it only accepts an NDI source with an alpha channel. So unfortunately there's no way to, unless you are able to send it that source, you can't just send it a regular camera. So some more experimentation needs to be done on what runs it correctly.
So if you guys get this and experiment with it, let us know how it works out. I'd be curious. I think I may try to run this tomorrow
Okay.
because I'm doing a set on the DMS weekly show.
Yep.
You can catch me at 12 Pacific.
I will be watching you at 3 p.m. Eastern.
R2 Central. R3 Mountain.
Yep. Or one mountain.
One Mountain?
One mountain.
Oh yeah, one Mountain.
So 12, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Is there actually anyone in the chat in Mountain Time?
Anyone in Mountain Time? We'll see. Well, I guess this about wraps it for this week. Evan, thanks for coming in and talking about vMix and all your projects that you have going on.
Yep.
Next week, Crush might show up. I don't know. Who knows? Spaze says 9 p.m. in Europe. Cool. Oh, Curtis is in Mountain Time. All right, Curtis, where you at? So yeah, Crush gonna talk about Final Cut X, maybe. We'll see. The week after that, we're gonna talk about virtual DJ with all the virtual DJ people, Biggie, Paul G, and Larry D. So if you ever wanted to know about virtual DJ, this will be the time and place to check it out. I almost feel like vMix, it kind of reminds me of virtual DJ in a way.
That makes me sad and somewhat happy at the same time.
Well, there's like, you know, all these menus that you just keep digging and digging through, and there's so many features.
You'll never get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of very programmery,
Yeah.
where programmers don't always really think about graphical user interface. They're just more about features.
There's one story I can tell you about that where someone decided that they thought an operating system that had a desktop was too cluttered, so they made everything a right-click menu.
Sure.
You just open it up and it's just a black screen. You don't even know it started. You have to like figure out that you need to right-click on the screen in order to do anything. All right. Well, I'm gonna hop off. But
All right. Thanks so much, Evan.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Evan. Appreciate all your time, buddy.
Mr. E, shut it down.
We're shutting down. Thanks, guys, everybody, for watching. Appreciate it. Friday tutorials with GeForce and guests. We'll see you next week. Until then, keep streaming.